Today we're going to talk about propaganda, how it's work, and what are tools of propaganda. Because we're living in a time when everything online available, like you can get any information online. But the point is that information true or false? And here we challenging with propaganda, because propaganda, the main goal of propaganda is brainwash, like convince you that white is black or black is white. So let's see to the tools of propaganda. What are tools of propaganda? No, let's start from the definition, okay? Like formal definition of propaganda. So, the definition of propaganda. I get this information from Cambridge Dictionary. So, propaganda, it's information, ideas, opinions, or images that give one part of an argument, which broadcast, publish it, etc., in order to influence people's opinions. Yeah. So, what are tools of propaganda? Whether the propagandists work in a peacetime or wartime situation, he uses certain tools to mobilize opinions and attitudes. What are these tools? An important one is a suggestion. Another word for it is stimulation. The propagandist tries to stimulate others to accept without challenge his own sorry for my broken English. The propagandist tries to stimulate others to accept without challenge his own fucking shit. Let me check right pronouncing. Pronunciation. Assertions. Where did you get this assertions? Oh my god. English language continued to wandering me. Okay, assertions. What does assertions mean? Insistent and positive, affirming, maintaining, or defending, or as of a right or attribute. Okay. In other words, assertance. Come again? Assertion. So, assertion. Let's check. Forget it. Meta synonyms. Assertions. It's synonym words like submission, statement, contention, declaration. Oh, it's like a just kind of speech. Okay. The propagandist tries to stimulate others to accept without challenge his own assertions. Oh, I get it. In other words, the propagandist, the guy who doing propaganda, saying his words without getting back arguments, just one opinion, and you just have to follow it, or to act as he wants them to do. The idea of using suggestion or stimulation as a propaganda device is that it will lead public to accept a proposition even though there are not a logical grounds for accepting it. The propagandist usually tries to sidestep critical reactions from his audience, and therefore suggestion is one of his most important tools. Okay, come again. The propagandist usually tries to sidestep critical reactions from his audience, and therefore suggestion is one of his most important tools. Yeah, like as I said before, propagandists don't want to listen any negative arguments to their direction, to their statement. For example, let's take North Korea. You just have propaganda media and that's it. You don't have any controversial media which does not agree with the mainstream media, and that's how propaganda works. Yeah, it's a perfect tool for dictatorship. So, how does the propagandist use this tool? By making broad and positive statements, by presenting his statements in a simple and familiar language, by refusing to admit or even suggest that there is another side to the question. Hitler's brutal and direct suggestion that the Jews sold out the German people in World War I, the stab in the back, and the Nazi propagandists call it is an example of this kind of propaganda. Another example is repeated Nazi propagandist assertion that Prime Minister Churchill and President Roosevelt warmongers. Warmongers. What the heck is it? Let me check. Warmongers. So warmongers, synonyms, militarist. It's another word for militarist, aggressor. Okay. Warmonger. Okay, let's check again. Pronunciation. Okay. Warmongers. Okay, this time is not so big surprise. Pronunciations and letters almost equal. So suggestion is a highly developed is a highly developed art in a commercial advertising. An obvious example is the flat declaration that some brand of vitamin will remedy that tired and run down feeling. A second propaganda tool is only a subtler form of suggestion. This tool is the use of hints, insinuations, or indirect statements. An example or two from the field of advertising will illustrate this method. The sponsorship of a symphony orchestra by a commercial company may be expected to create a feeling of goodwill on the part of the listener toward the product of the sponsor. Sometimes programs designed to portray the life and culture of another country are propagandist in nature, designed to sell, in other words, to convince that country to listeners in a home country. A third method of propaganda is the appeal to the known desire of an audience. Psychologists say that desire is an important factor in belief, though some persons may support some unsound economic scheme because they desire an income in their old age. Others will subscribe to some fraudulent scheme of psychology in order to improve their personality. The self-interested propagandist will study public opinion to find out what things people are for or against in order to decide the labels that he will use to bring about desired reactions. In other words, propaganda is choosing who is our friend or who is our enemy. He knows that such words as justice, constitution, Americanism, and law and order, which arouse favorable attitude, will serve as a favorable background for his message, and so he uses them. On the other hand, he may use certain other words, for example, radical or un-American, to influence his listeners to reject a cause or idea that he regards as inimical to his own interests. In other words, these kind of words like radical or un-American, they giving this kind of labels to the people which propagandist doesn't like. And what is the goal of giving this kind of labels? He wants, or she wants, like propagandist wants to create a special intention for these people. He wants, a propagandist wants to think about special groups as an enemy, and for make them enemy, he giving them labels. And the audience of propaganda has to think, oh yeah, if he's an American, he's our enemy, and so on. Hitler is adept and completely unscrupulous. Oh my god, okay, let's check out this word. Pronunciation. So, unscrupulous. The meaning of unscrupulous: behaving in a way that is dishonest or unfair in order to get to what you want. And unscrupulous. In other words, unscrupulous is being not honest. So Hitler is adept and completely unscrupulous in appealing to various groups in Germany. There has been little consistency in his appeals, but there have been many suggested cure-alls for disconnected or unhappy groups. Sincerity of the Nazi performance is revealed in the statement of a careful student who says National Socialism has no political or social theory. It has no philosophy and no concern for the truth. In a given situation, it will accept any theory that might prove useful and will abandon that theory as soon as the situation changes. I have to check this abandon. What does it mean? Abandon. Definition. It's like reject something. Give up completely. Yeah, abandon. Abandon, to leave behind or run away from someone or something. Okay, in other words, it's give up something or leave some ideas. So what was that? It has no philosophy and concern for the truth. In given situation, it will accept any theory that might prove useful, and it will abandon that theory as soon as situation changes. National Socialism is for agrarian reform and against it, for private property and against it, for idealism and against it. The advertising man appeals to desire is in the interest of his client, the desire to be strong and healthy, to be socially acceptable, to be beautiful, sells drug products, cosmetics, reducing preparations, soaps, perfumes. Anyone who is accustomed to reading advertisements will instantly recall dozens of illustrations of appeals to such desires, used to promote a wide variety of products. Yeah, we can see that propaganda tools also common in making advertisement of some products or services. Yeah, I never thought before in that way, because yeah, advertisement marketing is also about convincing people to buy your product, and you kind of working and using the same tools. Yeah. The skilled propagandist as the skilled propagandist also known the techniques of making ideas stick. It is because of his of this knowledge that he resorts to keywords and slogans, shibboleths. Oh my goodness, what is it? Shibboleths. 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 Shibboleth, a belief or custom that is not now considered as important and correct as it was in the past. It's kind of new belief or what? Let me check. Maybe synonyms. Yeah, shibboleth, but sounds not like, English word. Okay, synonyms. It's like a slogan, motto, catchword. Okay, shibboleth. Okay, the skilled propagandist also known the techniques of making ideas stick. It is because of this knowledge that he resorts to key words and slogans, shibboleths, or other symbolic forms. The advertising slogan packs meaning into short sentences. The purpose is to get them noticed. They will find their way into the minds of people. When a person is choosing a commodity to buy, it is expected that the slogan will come easily to the surface of his mind. A good many years ago, advertisers discovered that the reason why appeals were not always effective. Appeals were shortened and emotionalized, since many readers will not wade through explanations of why one commodity is better than other. The history of international political propaganda, the experts tell us, is full of examples of the use of striking slogans. For example, the segment of the golden horn was used as a description of the former Turkish Empire. The segment of the whole golden horn. What is it called? Horn? Is it like for making sound, that shit? Horn definition. Horn, feeling great sexual desire. Oh, la la. Synonyms: aroused, randies, determined, feeling horny. Oh, horny, golden horn. The segment of the golden horn was used as a description of the former Turkish Empire. In Hitler's name calling techniques, the democratic nations are called democracy. While seeking power, he used the campaign cry, the Versailles Treaty is a monstrous lie. Under Mussolini, the fascists were fond of such slogans as a book and rifle make a perfect fascist. A book and a rifle make a perfect fascist, and plough makes a furrow, but a sword defends it. And plough make a furrow, but swords defend it. Sounds very nice word, but I have to get it. Plough. What is it? Plough. Plough. So plough. Plough. A large farming tool with blades that digs the soil in the field so that seeds can be planted. Okay, it's kind of agriculture shit. And then a furrow, what is it? Sounds like a furrow. 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 Okay, furrow. Furrow, a long line or hollow that is formed or cut into the surface of something. Maybe other culture pictures. It's again related with the kind of agriculture shit at the ground. Synonym words: scar, wrinkle, it's as a verb. Okay, line. I just want to get the meaning. A plough makes a furrow, but a sword defends it. Okay. Though the Nazi propaganda, both inside and outside Germany, has been marked by terror, this is not a common characteristic of slogans and symbols. No one could challenge such Red Cross slogans as all you need is a heart and dollar. No one could question the socially minded impulse behind the Salvation Army slogan. A man may be down, but he's never out. Compelling slogans have been devised to win support for war relief, community help, and many other such activities. So let me check what else we have. Sometimes slogans have fired the imagination of people in the past and continued their influence down to the present. One authority suggests that if a slogan catches correctly and objectively the underlying forces in a critical situation, it may turn out to be vital and lasting. We remember such striking slogans as no taxation without representation from the American Revolution, liberty, equality, and fraternity from the French Revolution, and peace, bread, and land from the Russian Revolution. Peace, bread, and land. Yeah, propaganda makes use of slogans, but it also makes effective use of symbols. A symbol is a concrete representation of an idea or thing, a sign that stands for something, as crossed rifles stand for the infantry, and as wings and propeller represent the air forces. A symbol can be a word, a mark, an object, a song, a flag, an image, a picture, a statue, or some collective or group representation, anything that conveys a common thought to masses of people. A symbol is a kind of cement that holds together a social group. The propagandist known the art of working with symbols. He uses symbols to develop both favorable and unfavorable attitudes. Symbol usage will create likenesses that use it much as a stenographer uses shorthand. Cartoonists have stereotyped symbols to represent the taxpayer, the college professor, and many others. One cartoonist pictured the prohibitionist as a tall, thin, long-nosed, black-garbed figure in a black hat, and others portrayed the saloon keeper as a very fat, barrel-like figure. Yeah, as we see, another tool of propaganda is making this kind of images. Like if they want to show people which they like in a good way, they making cartoons, in a nice way, with creating this kind of nice persons with nice clothes, and they just imaging people which they like in a good way, and people which they hate in another bad way. And yeah, it's another way to brainwash people. So what else? Top down propaganda. So the capitalist was once pictured as a huge diamond-studded man wearing a suit covered with dollar signs. There is some reason to believe that in the past half century there has been a decrease in the number of popular symbols used in the Western nations, but a vast amount of symbolism has been created by the fascist, Nazi, and communist states. The Nazi made their symbols so unmistakable and conspicuous that if any German omitted to display or use them, he would be quickly detected. These symbols, you will recall, included the Nazi salute, the swastika, and a lot of titles, badges, and uniforms. Hitler himself writes, one authority must have his own title denied by special edict to all other leaders, and he won great popular approval after the death of Hindenburg by pretending that the title president was altogether too august for him. The use of non-Aryan as a symbol by Hitler and the Nazi hierarchy was a demagogic. Okay, another word. Just help me Google to check pronunciation. Okay, demagogic pronunciation. I kind of understand what does it mean, but I want to be sure about pronunciation. So,
Demagogic.
Demagogic, okay. Okay, for guys who don't know the meaning, I will give you the meaning. Demagogic. In other words, noun demagogue, yeah, it's mean a person, especially a political leader, who wins support by exciting the emotions of ordinary people, I guess. A person, especially a political leader, who wins support by exciting the emotions of ordinary people rather than by having good or morally right ideas. Oh, I thought it's kind of another way. Maybe it has a lot of meanings because I thought it's mean like a person who making chaos. Maybe let me check another example. Right, no, it's just one definition. A person, especially a political leader, who wins support by exciting the emotions of ordinary people, rather than by having good or morally right ideas. In other words, when someone using people's emotions, not their consciousness, with not calling their conscious logic, thinking. He just saying some bullshit for make people happy, but behind of that there's no logic, and of course there's no responsibility. It's just manipulation of people's mind. Yeah, that's the meaning of demagogic. So, the use of non-Aryan as a symbol by Hitler and the Nazi hierarchy was a demagogic device to encourage the persecution. Oh my God, let me check this. Definition, pronunciation. So, persecution. Yeah, nothing wrong. Persecution. Persecution, I think, is something related with the law. Persecution, unfair or cruel treatment over a long period of time because of race, religion, or political beliefs. Oh, okay. So synonyms gonna be oppression, victimization. Okay. So the use of non-Aryan as a symbol by Hitler and the Nazi hierarchy was a demagogic device to encourage the persecution of minorities, scapegoats who were neither numerous nor powerful enough to resist the violent tactics of the Nazi propagandists and Nazi terrorists. Catchwords and slogans about in Nazi propaganda contrived for the sake of impressing the German people. The Nazis found fond of such important and high-sounding words and phrases as immutable, imperishable, what else we have? Imperishable, and for all future time. Opportunists, they are quick to discard a slogan when it has served its purpose. Then new ones are coined and must be on all German lips. The chief symbol used to inspire the Japanese civilian and fighting man. The chief symbol used to inspire the Japanese civilian and fighting man is the emperor. The Japanese higher-ups maintain their internal power by making a god of their emperor, emphasizing his alleged descent from the sun god. This symbol of the emperor as god is used to stimulate the fighting effectiveness of soldiers and sailors. Yeah, it's another way of working propaganda. They making their leader as a god, and yeah, it's following leader is turning to be as a religion. Yeah, and it's kind of effective actually for when it comes to military brainwash, you know. The Japanese in their propaganda attacks on Americans and the British play up the symbol white exploiter. They disguise Japanese imperialism behind the symbol of prosperity in their efforts to win converts among the brown and yellow races. In their efforts to win converts among the brown and yellow races. Interesting. The Japs call it co-prosperity. Another technique used by the propagandists is the prestige element in human relations. The psychologists are not agreed as to the extent to which attitudes and opinions can be propagated by prestige, but it seems certain that prestige does play an important role. The influence the parent has over his child, for example, and can be traced in part to the prestige of an adult in size, strength, knowledge, and power. Some individuals or group resent expert opinion and are unwilling to respond to the suggestions made by fact finders and scientists. But there seems to be no doubt that in politics, prestige is a decided factor. A poll of a man, a poll of men whose biographies were included in who was used, for instance, in a political campaign some years ago to indicate that persons described as a superior and influential were mainly on the side of one party and candidate. The prestige of businessmen has been a factor in political campaigns, especially in times of prosperity. In wartime, belligerent stressed the prestige of the military and political leadership. Sometimes this prestige is increased by legends, which another means of influencing the attitudes of people. Usually legends build up around a core of truth, but the end result may be like a character from fiction. The legends of Ulysses, Roland, and Siegfried, for example, grew up around mighty warriors. Whether legends deliberately created or not, there can be no doubt that they are accepted and believed by many people, and so they influence the conduct of people. Someone has said that masses of mankind live in these images or legends. Hitler, Mussolini, and their followers have been industrious myth makers. The near deification of Hitler by the Nazis and the technique of mass hypnotism of the Germans, thing that we as democratic people find it very difficult to understand. To us, it is incredible that fanatical, intense, and uneducated Munich agitator and schooled in economics and politics should be exalted by mass appeals and terroristic tactics into an all-powerful and infallible leader, their Führer, who exacts unquestioned obedience from his people. This infallibility that the Nazis have credited to Hitler is bluntly expressed in the words of Robert Ley, the director of the Nazi Labor Front. And here's a quote: "Germany must obey like a well-trained soldier," he said. The Führer Adolf Hitler is always right. Yeah, let's make the conclusion of this whole article that I was reading a long time ago some book of, if I'm not wrong, Gustave Le Bon or something, his name, about psychology of masses, and I think it was his quote that he was saying that as individual, each person, smart, educated, but when it comes to following crowd, people turning to be kind of stupid and easy to convince any crazy idea. Yeah, and we observed some methods how propaganda works, and before believing to something, think twice, compare information from different sources, and don't be manipulated by this kind of bad people. Yeah, thank you for listening.